Hello, my name is Gail Henney, and I'd like to welcome you to the studio of North Andover Community Access and Media here inside North Andover High School in North Andover, Massachusetts. I'm Gail Henney. I'm a former two-term Poet Laureate of North Andover. I'm also the producer and host of the television series Right Now and the editor of Songs from the Castle's Remains. We're here today as part of the Trails and Sails program, which is the premier event of the Essex National Heritage Commission. But this particular program celebrates poetry and poets. As you know, Essex County has a very rich history of poetry. It includes Robert Frost, and of course the first published American poet, whom we have heard of many times from our own North Andover poet, Karen Klein, but the first published American poet is Anne Bradstreet. I'd like to say that our poetry community is vibrant and it's growing. And for example, North Andover has two poets laureates, Ken and Nadine Delano. Ken will be reading today, but also Ken and Nadine on the fourth Tuesday of each month have an open mic at the North Andover Library. And you are all invited as poets to read or as audience members. Also, Andover has its installation. That installation is now complete, and their poet laureate is Linda Flaherty Haltmeyer, and you'll be hearing from her today, as well as contemporary poets from Essex County. So I'd like to begin, and the poem I'm going to be reading is What is Dark? What is dark? Darker than summer's blueberries, swelling eggplants in your neighbor's garden, clouds promising driving rain, and blacktop after raindrops have fallen. Darker than a theater everyone has left and doors locked. Darker than the dark side of the moon and daytime during a total eclipse. As dark as times where truth metamorphosizes by the moment within 140 characters, and the world holds its breath. And now I'd like to welcome the next reader, the poet Joffrey Babbitt. Please welcome Joffrey Babbitt.
Purple. Color purple. What a beautiful color. Such a very strong color, but yet elegant. Almost go with any other colors you can think of. Color of royalties over the years, and many years back they had to use shellfish to make purple. So it was just for royalty and for prominent people. A very interesting history about the color, and fun saying purple, purple, purple. Just rolls off the tongue in a very beautiful color. The string. Life can be really funny. You can turn around and all of a sudden you lose everything. It's funny how life can never be a dull moment. 1 minute you have all your memories, then the next gone. Vice versa. Complex. How is life? It's just a string that life holds on to. I wonder if there's scissors next to the string. Just waiting to cut that string, and when the string falls, so does anything next to the string. That's what life is. I believe everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences in life. Just enjoy life where there's no promises in life and no warranty. It would be nice to be able to buy one and be like, I need a new arm or leg or a brain. Wherever that's you. But nope, we don't have one. We have one life to enjoy. So enjoy it. The fullest, no worrying about minor problems. For they are just minor problems. For there are bigger problems, and we need to fix the bigger problems if we want to survive and not let that string get cut. Okay. The next one, Ken Delano. Ken, along with his wife Nadine, are now retired after touring nationwide and beyond performing poetry in schools, grades K to 12, for 20 years. However, they continue performing and currently are the Poet Laureate of North Andover. They are also are members of the North Andover Cultural Council and board members of the Robert Frost Foundation. They also host a monthly poetry open mic at the Stevens Memorial Library in North Andover.
Normally, I'm introduced as Kennedine, along with my wife. We just put the names together because we always perform together. But she's not here, so rather than be Ken today, I'm going to be Ken Nodine. This is this beautiful box. I was given a box. This box is a beautiful box. I wondered what was inside this beautiful box. But there is no opening, no lock, no letting in. I got my hammer, my chisel, then stopped myself before my bashing. This box is so beautiful. I asked myself, why damage such a beautiful box? It could be empty. Shaking it, it sounded empty. I put away my hammer, my chisel. I put the box on the table. I went to bed. I dreamed. There came a strange sound, noisy, melodic yet aggravating, pleasant yet eerie, enthralling, enchanting. I could almost not tolerate it. It came close to waking me, but still I slept. Then the box opened. It beckoned me in. A light, redeeming, if anything, a thump. All I could see was the thumping. I could not hear the thumping, I could see it. This mysteriously thumping, magically beating, enticing me to touch it. Then the light was gone. And the feeling, not merely in my fingers, but over all of me, was immediately imaginative, illogically illuminating. And I could smell what I was feeling. My mother's womb. First day on my own. The air that day. My first bubblegum bubble popping and sticking to my lips. The sight of it in front of my nose. The digging in the garden, the soil. That rich, life-giving smell of the soil. I can feel that smell. Hear that feeling. See that sound. Experience darkness, silence, numbness. Then, no more soil. My dream has ended, but I am not awake. I can no longer see, hear, feel, touch, smell. I cannot get out of this beautiful box. Our next poet up is going to be Jim Knowles. Started at the Lawrence Frost Hoots in about 2007. Won first prize at the 2009 Poetry Superhighway Contest and second in the 2010 Inkwell Poetry Competition. He has been an MC at the Frost Hoots and is now the president of the Frost Foundation, perhaps due to giving the illusion of youth and energy. He has a few volumes at blurb.com, Taki, Nighthawks, Green Beret, and Peculiar Pair of Dice. He's also in an English-Danish Massachusetts poetry volume by Niels Kjær with Frost, Dickinson, and Crapsey. No Danish airfare offers yet, and he's not big in Japan yet. And here's Jim Knowles.
Oh, it was a gray beret, so I'm not so competent as to be green beret. So. And it's a middle-aged thing. So I had it looks like a great beret, but it's actually a buckwheat pancake on the cover. It's a secret. So I have one redesigned. So you take some time, take in some reading and some tea, but it's hard for you to see this sloppy majesty as if it were designed. Though there are always special heights inside the song, and some imagine for just a moment long that all is right as pie. True, you do make ready for all this, but as you know, much like the glow of your first kiss, nothing shiny stays up in the sky. One day it will all whiff away, and you won't know why, and it will leave a desert footprint, memory, that's less than color fast, hues fading as it falls and rests and joins blurred layers of the past. That's why we need to paint big yellow suns on those happy scenes. A little fiction in our diction fades the pains and makes the joy the point, the thing the pretty picture means. So to this be so resigned, it is the past alone you can design. I don't necessarily agree, but there was a study saying that depressed people have a more accurate recollection of the past. I think you have to edit sometimes in order to get by. Sad but true. Anyway, the other is a reunion illusion. A glimpse of you yesterday. Someone pointed and spoke your name, but I did not know you. You looked more classy now, but that's a shock. The studied indifference, the striking face. I cannot find the coziness that drifted back over your shoulder, practiced as it was, perhaps. You used to use your words, your eyes, to shoot that confidence to a shy prince starved to be struck by you. I was melted by your round, warm ways. I was sorry not to walk with you then, and sorry I didn't call out now. But suddenly I saw the one show pointed to the other. I don't know you just now, and maybe I never knew who you were then. That's why I hesitated. Thank you. Isabel Van Merlin, the founder of Merrimack Mike, which meets the fourth Sunday of the month, often the fourth Sunday. And they have a lot of local flavor, and they have produced 3 anthologies. Isabel Van Merlin.
Thank you, Jim. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, how many words does it take to make a picture? 100 or 2? Surely a haiku will do. And what kind of picture are we trying to make? A walk in the park? A birthday cake? Do we write when we're happy? When we're sad? Do we write? It's hard to write about great things, easy for bad. And why would that be? What's the philosophy? Do we project happiness without needing words? I'd like to think that negative thoughts are for the birds to fly away. And what's with this having to write at all? If we don't spout words, do we feel small? Perhaps it helps to know I'm still on the ball if I can put words to a partial recall. What is this compulsion to write and read? Is it a basic acknowledgement need? Whatever the reason, whatever the cause, I'm so glad we're doing this together. And the second one, time. What is it about time? Clocks, calendars, watches, date books, appointments, schedules, alarm clocks, birthdays, daily newspapers, monthly magazines, quarterly reports. anniversaries, elementary, middle, and high school, high tide, low tide, new moon, full moon, spring, summer, fall, winter, early, on time, late, newborn, infant, toddler, child, student, teenager, adult, middle-aged, old. And on the third day he rose again from the dead. You might think there was a beginning and an end. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce the very sardonic and very short-winded Douglas Lowney. His one-word introduction that I'm to give you is Methuen.
Hi. Bag of tricks. What you got in that bag? Maybe coins of gold, stolen from the Aztecs, so ancient and so cold. Holding them in my hand, they feel cool and slick, slipping through my fingers into your bag of tricks. Maybe there's a cherry that's never been touched. Maybe a maiden no one likes too much. Here comes a boxer, swollen from his licks. Cassius Clay couldn't fight his way out of your bag of tricks. Are there Mr. Cards or loaded pairs of dice? I'm wishing for the magic. I'm wishing for it twice. Picked up the golden rose, a thorn my finger it pricks. My heart blood dripping cold into your bag of tricks. I'm hoping for a time machine, maybe in that sack. Then I could change words, words I couldn't take back. I hear someone coming. When he moves, he clicks. He's hoping for that lubricant in your bag of tricks. I need a magic potion. I'm afflicted and queasy. Something in a screw-tie jar top, one that opens easy. I rub it deep into my skin. It burns like candle wicks. Does everything feel that good in your bag of tricks? Just static on the radio. The people aren't aware. You listen to anything. They're so easy to scare. This is how they live in today's horror flicks. There's nothing for them in your bag of tricks. Stricken with continual aging, do you have a cure? Since I've become Unitarian, now it has to be pure. The big boss gives you all the easy things to fix. Then his greasy hand slides into your bag of tricks. For some, life is too short. For others, it's too long. Anyway, when it's over, I want to finish it strong. My best friend died a while ago. She was so very sick. There was nothing to save her in your bag of tricks. I don't care about my age. It's just another rung. People say I'm cynical and very high-strung. Here come the cops to hit you with their sticks. then read your rights, steal your bag of tricks. Gail likes this one. Ivory Tower. I climbed the ivory tower just to see what it meant to have wealth and power and be in the 1%. The air up here is clear and thin, but smoke's rising from all around. Down where the people had been, now's a race war burial ground. Our flag is draped along a side. It used to look so much finer, torn and frail, like our national pride, made cheaper over in China. There are people here I recognize, but there's no list of the residents. They're either wearing a great disguise or it's crawling with presidents. Barbara's husband rolls in a chair. It's pushed by his ex-president's son. Pronouncing words give him a scare, and his idiot brother almost won. The new one lives up here too. He set our world up for a fall. What do you think he's going to do when Americans start climbing the wall? I see no one that got my vote in the tower. That would be rare. Making Obama their scapegoat. They canceled my health care. They imagine it's a tower of strength, but it's shaky way at top. They run on a different wavelength, too high to see the people drop. Global warming is just a plot. On this, they've taken a position. When people collapse from being too hot, they say, turn up the air conditioning. The taxes are at a high percent, minus a generous charity contribution. But it's money that's well spent for the citizens against evolution. I was looking around and taking note. I didn't see the blue-eyed brute tossed over the railing by my throat without a golden parachute. Ready, Mark? Mark Borer is an attractive you are though, environmentalist, and is active in his church. He works as a computer engineer and project manager. Born in Pennsylvania, he's lived in New England for over 30 years. This line from Bruce Springsteen describes him. I learned more in a 3-minute song than I ever learned in school. School?
Thank you. Because I love the blues. I love the blues. When I hear that wail coming from that place, so deep and sad, so strong and frail. When I hear that wail carrying on through that despair of hope somehow, climbing out of that hopeless, hopeless pit. When I hear your voice coming through as something else, coming through grievous and sorrowful, somehow, carrying a new heart, now grievous and true. Why would I want you to feel that way? Why would I want you to sing that song? Why would I want you to walk that road? Because I love the blues. I love the blues. But if that's wrong, then why would I take it away from you? Why would I take it away? It's the prize you earned, your invisible scar, a knife dragged through your soul, making the scar that shines so beautiful in the night. the night when you called out to God, and all he had left to give you was your soul. And somehow, that let you take another step down the road, somehow gave you strength to carry on. Why do I want you to feel that way? Why do I want you to sing that song? Why do I want you to walk that road? Because I walk that same road. And that's why I love the blues. Among the names. Standing on this cold field, surrounded by stones and names, we get cold feet, unsure where we stand in this world or the next. Among the names, all we can do is listen, stand in the quiet, among still grasses, standing stones, fallen leaves, among the dead. Grateful for any message, unsure what we'd do if one came, still we listen. Among the dead, there's an inside joke, perhaps a nod, an unseen wink, an elbow in the ribs, a stifled laugh, a quieting hand to shush the lips, a secret smile. They can no longer laugh out loud, but they get the joke. They get it, for they saw the whole show, bought the ticket, paid full price too. Standing among the names, their hushed, unspoken message, this message that they earned, silently is heard. Okay, it's okay. Your time, enjoy. This cold field, enjoy. Your cold feet too. Until you get the joke, until you find your name among the dead, grateful be. So next up is Barbara Prohlman. She has been a resident of Methuen, Massachusetts for over 45 years. She's a member of the Wright Group, founded by Gail Henney, the Grey Court Poets, and the Rockingham Writers Exchange. Her poetry has been published in 3 anthologies, Moments Falling Open, Songs from the Castle's Remains, and Northern Essex Community College Peace Poetry Annual Contest in Reading, and Methuen Life magazine. Articles and stories written by Barbara have appeared in the Writer's Block, Bon Secours magazine, and the Library Trustees Journal. Her current project is a memoir entitled Waves in Time, A Spiritual Journey. Here is Barbara Prohlman.
Thank you. This poem was inspired by 2 paintings by Lydia Chavain. She drew one of the Alhambra in Spain, in Granada, and also one from the Palace View. I wrote the poem originally as part of a slide presentation that was done to honor the artists in Methuen and the Merrimack Valley. The poem is entitled The Moorish King's Last Stand. Splendid Alhambra, memories of past conquests recorded in stone. Gazing through the palace window, your beauty can never be denied. Facing the Albaycin, the legends of 1001 nights comes to mind. Fragrant blossoms riding on the wind speak of past adventures. Banquets with sherbet of snow from Sierra Nevada, brought by servants running before melting. Luxurious baths in the courtyard where the harem lived, admired by the Nasrid kings. Artists and craftsmen adding splendor to the coppery tinge of your elegant walls. Arabesque decorations delicately adorning doorways and ceilings. Fountain of 12 lions, what sights you have seen. Murderous executions and clandestine meetings adding to the intrigue. Nothing can erase the memories, not even the expulsion of Boabdil by Ferdinand and Isabella. Thank you. As the first poem was an homage to the past, this one is about the present. All we have is one another. Deep sadness overwhelms me as I watch events unfold. News reports are so much the same, only names and places change. History repeats itself, or so we're told. I have always hoped we could learn, not so far. I remember the old folk song, "When will they ever learn?" Supersessionalist thinking produces peacocks with large egos. I hug my children every day, grateful to have them safe. In ever-widening circles, I practice civility and acceptance. As a minority in our society, I decry the need of many to keep their heads down in order to survive. My grandparents came here pursuing freedom and escaping fear. Suffering that fear here is unacceptable to me. For now, I have no answers, only regret that things are as they are. Maybe soon it will change. The pendulum still swings, doesn't it? And now it is my pleasure to introduce a fellow sister poet who also happens to be my cousin. Lois Sargent's poetry has been published in the United States and the United Kingdom and has appeared in 2 anthologies. She is the author of a children's book, What Makes the United States? Sargent studied with Miami poet Hannah Kahn. She was accepted as a student at the Frost Place in the Prague Summer Writers' Workshop. At present, she is a member of the Write Group. Her poems, These Branches of Time, reflect years spent as a counselor in a psychiatric hospital, teaching English in Poland when they emerged from behind the Iron Curtain, as a volunteer on archaeological excavations in Israel, and her travels as a flight attendant. Lois is a resident of Salem, Massachusetts.
Well, I just heard that my cousin is writing a book about waves of time, and I'm in the process of writing a book about poetry about branches of time, and that was the author's bio for the back of the book. September was my father's birth date, and so I'd like to read just a trilogy of 3 short poems in honor of my father. My father's face. The Red Sea never parted, the walls of Jericho never fell, and if Moses ever spoke with God, he never confided in my father. But my father's face was shaped at Sinai, chin pointed toward the wind, eyes that pierced each day, yet never sought the stars. My father kept his faith. He walked a narrow path, brushing the sand from his feet, building mountains to guard his valley. From Abraham to Alan. No, don't touch them, retell the child, as he fingers the stones we had placed one by one on the tomb. They will tell Grandpa we were here. He nods and smiles acceptance. This Eurasian child, my father's namesake. Father, forgive us, but the world has changed. You would be amazed at the speed of skateboards and supersonic transports. The whole balancing act is under revision. All of it. And what about your world, Father? I worry about you. Mama was pleased to see the nearby tree, but you were never one to lie in the shade. Do you find pleasure in this flourishing ivy? I will take a sprig of it, and it will be a sign between us. In conclusion, I'd like to read Leaf Sorrow, Tree Strong, and it's prefaced by a quote from Isaiah 37:31. And the remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upward. Someday I will come in autumn and visit the tree. Reach out my arms to gather the leaves that are falling, guide them to rest away from the moaning wind. And as they lie upon the cold earth, I will say to them, fear not, the tree stands. See how the earth clings to its roots. Even the sky patterns itself to fit piece by piece between the tree's branches. Tears falling as the leaves gather cannot blind me to what still remains. I will lean my body against this tree. It will not wither. It will not fall. Thank you. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Blaine Hebel, poet, activist, and Ipswich native. Blaine has been fascinated by the American voice for over 40 years. He has published 4 chapbooks, and his publishing house, Ring of Bone Press, has published 2 books, Wild Women of Lynn and Mad Men of Lynn. So welcome.
Thank you for inviting me here. Since November, I've done nothing but write poems expressing our disgust for this administration, but I'm not doing that today. I'm reading 2 poems, origin poems, if you will, and the first is I Come From. I come from the cowboy-hatted American dream. I come from the American voice, awakened by beat cellars, white-hazed ampules, bursting like prophets at the sight of 3 a.m. epiphanies. I come from being on my own since 16. My parents moved to Rio de Janeiro while I stayed in Ipswich. I come from floating in fluid sack of corporate greed for far too long, still ashamed that when I should have been fighting it all, I put it away so I wouldn't even have to think about it. I come from travel like wonder, a first entry into Moonlit Canyon by first people peering around each bend. I come from cool twerk, beat, fierce punk slash, and reggae's trance-like groove. I come from Native American reverence for sentient world, soft carpet of soldier moss, and creator's game, like ritual, a rite of passage. Bullets couldn't hit Geronimo. I come from a woman's skin's first tremble of anticipation and wide-eyed wonder of the female form, and all my woman friends' artists dance on air. I come from my uncle killed in car crash, my first girlfriend shooting herself, and my ancestor executed as a witch. I come from Occupy, my deep rage at worshippers bowing at money's false altar instead of exhilaration at nature's wild, untamed beauty. I come from this exact point I'm at now, right here, experiencing everything I can. This exact point we are all at now. I come from To Be Continued. Thank you. So that was an origin poem about me. This is about my poetry, and it's called The American Voice. Whitman and Poe were the first to know the American voice. Poe spoke in a language defined by the sound, Whitman by the senses he found, continental but essential. In celebration for our awakening nation, Ezra Pound, Gertrude Stein, and William Carlos Williams built the craft. Charles Olson, Kenneth Rexroth, and Denise Levertov continued down that path. But for me, the American voice really starts with the beats, the rumble of the streets, the stretching out of the nation again, the fascination with the city heat. A time to breathe again. The rejection of the military-industrial complex idea of nation, the free flow of modern jazz, the underground integration of the oneness of all people. racing across this expanse of our land with wonders at every turn, coast to coast, so hot they could burn, and that manic energy flowed to every pore. There were no doors they couldn't open. The music of the swamp moved up the river. Rock and roll followed, the Byrds, Velvet Underground, Dylan, Hendrix, and the Doors electrified their words with flower power, psychedelics, and hippies. It then got pretty trippy, as did I, a wide-eyed receptor absorbing everything I could, swirling my version of the American voice into a crucible of molten thoughts. But still, that I was just an innocent fawn was so clear, I kept trying to find my ear, continued to rock until it got bought, but then punk broke, Patti Smith spoke, and I broke down my own doors, fiercely interpreting my mind. Lou Welch went southwest, while I went every direction, looking everywhere for everything, searching for a ring of bone, until again life got in the way. My senses dulled, a spectator for too many days. But then I found my voice again. Occupy occupied my time, because the American voice doesn't inhabit temples of greed or the need to have more than your neighbors or friends. But I know corporate greed would never end. Still, I couldn't stay idle, sit in my hands when my voice was strong. So I sought out places to go to hear and speak, leading me to the Walnut Street Coffee Cafe, where the beat throbbed and I stood open mouth in art, the power of the words of 5 incredible, beautiful women, Wild Women of Lynn, and now the Madmen of Lynn. Their words are the American voice, and all I needed was to hear them once to know I could never get enough. Occupy everything. Thank you. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Steve Sohigian. Steve has spent most of his life in Andover, Mass. He's a member of the Grey Court Poets. He has a Master of Arts in English from Fitchburg State University, and he has his bachelor's degree in Liberal Arts from Merrimack College. 3 of his poems are in the Methuen Life. He is one of the co-writers of Songs of the Castles Remain, and he has 2 awards in poetry from the Art Institute group of Merrimack Valley. Please welcome Steve Sohigian.
One of my favorite books is The Return of the King by Tolkien, and it's actually right beside my bed. So when I get up in the middle of the night and I want to read something, I just turn to any page and I start reading. And both my poems are from Tolkien. The first one is based on a song from the cartoon movie The Hobbit. It's called Disposable Lives, and it's about not just being one of the masses. Mindless butterflies and sumptuously harvest is bland without luster in sea, whose breath is but an empty cosmic jest. To merely be is but a beating breast. Mire and mediocrity is mindless. To what glory could anyone confess? A caterpillar's soul in winged monarch bemoan not the mundane, but the stars stark. Though wings marvelously made and displayed, they are but buffoonish symbols, not braid. Myopic mariposa meander in stagnant streams and sterile seas to defer, humming minions of murmuring consent and faceless fetters of rut to content, bleached of boast to unstrained disdain of fear, drabness of pliance and plebeian fear, in the muck of humdrum, no laureate, or altars to aspiration to get. Plovers nest in a placid compliance of pools of entrenched, stagnant circumstance. We must emerge from the soulless solace to a perch far above a minion's bliss. And a footnote, that song, it's so easy not to try, that last poem was from. I wanted to talk, I just want to say what the 2 verses are that got me there. It's so easy not to try, let the world go drifting by. If you never say hello, you won't have to say goodbye. It's so easy not to try, never stay around to cry. Move along when troubles come like a mindless butterfly. All right, my My last poem is called Disposable, The Mist. And it's about not being overwhelmed by our dark side, remembering the good and try to live by the golden rule. It reminds me of the land that foundered and of the great dark wave climbing over the green lands and above the hills and coming on, darkness unescapable. I often dream of it. Tolkien, The Return of the King. What if billowy clouds that rock the skyward hues of horizons seen were swallowed by the grimmest ruse, as if encumbered by the ever-hungry pain of darkened hearts' hatred, humans' blood stain, not a fog dissolving our sense of poignant sight, but ebony intensified where there is no luscious light. The flame of hope subsides to a dull wick unquenched. In human misery our souls and bodies drenched, the hollow chimes of time are of brass that echo, where ageless Cupid disavows arrows and bow. What enmity there is may pierce sightless victim. No Plato able to be light-drawing pilgrim, dragons of our design battle unseen, windmills then stumble ever in the in-between. What if? And I'd like to introduce our next poet, Tim Kremen. He is a member of the Grey Court Poets, and several of his poems are included in their anthology, Songs of the Castle's Remains. He is the author of the poetry chapbook, The Way You Run in Dreams, published by Finishing Line Press. Tim's poetry has also appeared in Albatross, Forge, Pennsylvania English, Poetry Pacific, Westview, and other publications.
Thank you, Stephen, and hello, everybody. My first poem is pretty self-explanatory. It's called Don't Go Out with a Photographer. They're always waiting around for the wind to kick up or die down, for their precious light to be just right. Noon is too steep, you see. Shadows too long at dusk and dawn. Overcast days are their favorites. Sun spread out, soft and even. Leave the bloody camera at home for a day? No way. Pics, or it didn't happen. Constantly fiddling with lenses and such. One more shot, but it's never enough. Thank you. A few months ago, I had open heart surgery to replace my aortic valve, and this poem kind of came out of that experience. The solution. Feel the heart, good as new, fluttering like a hummingbird in that cavity. Hear the beats of a long walk or a porch strum. Nightly excursions to virtual worlds and back. Though it seems designed to break, it can also heal as long as it keeps pumping the solution in which it soaks. Thank you. Representing the hills and halls of Andover, C.J. Morse is a 19-year-old spoken word performer who has been known to make appearances throughout the valley. A veteran writing leader of the Breadloaf program, C.J. has been working with other youth for the last few years to keep the soul of this art form alive. Please welcome C.J. Morse.
Morning. My first piece is called Night Sessions number 255. I've long forgotten the feeling of a quiet night. Most nights there's at least something in my eardrums. Do you hear the hum of cars passing? I travel with night at my back. Morning is just a tale told to scare shadows. See, the night is never quiet, you just think it is. So used to the hustle and bustle, you forget the cricket songs by moonlight, while they sip on dewdrops and play tunes that make you remember innocence. I often think of a life that isn't like this. But give me my keys and I'll show you what happens when you cope with indifference, weaving through a field of insecurity, hoping that this sky won't be the last thing that I see, 'cause nights like these stars don't shine through to illuminate dead black boys who flew too close to the sun. Instead, crowds drape them in solitude, hoping they'll spring up and run. 1/4 to a land where only they know. Have you ever felt the feeling that comes with the quiet night? Peace settling to your bones. It's gonna be all right. The sun sets and the day's about to begin. All I have to do now is let it in. And this next piece has a tiny bit of a backstory to it. So this past summer, I was working at the Bread Loaf program at Phillips, and we were given a writing prompt in which we had to declare something about ourselves. And I declared that I was too quiet. And this piece came out of that. I am the kind of man that is too quiet. My words drift along like a summer breeze. You can never hear me in a crowd. I am the kind of man that's too quiet, as if my presence is non-existent. I'll make wallflowers want to dance, but only if you remember that I'm your partner. I'm the kind of man that speaks softly. It's why I worked in a library. I'm the kind of man that speaks softly so my words can be their own loudspeaker. I'm the kind of man that's too quiet and that's mad suspicious. I'm the kind of man that'll die for men far guiltier than I. My name tattooed onto skin and muscle, so sad that it only takes one bullet for all of that to fade. I'm the kind of man that's too quiet, except when you test me. I'm the kind of man that you don't want to test me. I'm the kind of man that's always so angry, but I speak so softly. My words are the ammunition to my gunfights, and my hands will only lift an offense. I'm the kind of man that apologizes without speaking. You'd think I'd be whispering into the wind, and away I go. I'm the kind of man that becomes dangerous once a pen is involved. For unrest needs not bloodshed to be a riot or anarchy. Sometimes I let Malcolm and Robespierre flow through me. But most days, I speak more meekly, more timidly, as if the weight of my thoughts press down upon my larynx and choke me. For I am the kind of man that's too quiet and too reserved. But like all things, I'm the kind of man who just wants to watch the world turn. Thank you. And next up, we have Pilar Quintana, who is a member of the Grey Court Poets, whose poems can be found in their anthology, Songs from the Castle's Remains. Please welcome Pilar.
Hi, I have one poem because my poems can be a little bit lengthy. It's a poem about my journey through gender, and it's called The Problem of Maria. I have spent my life trying to solve for X. Hispanic child born into a world divided into male and female, seeking the solution that will put me back together. My model is androgynous fusion of form, or amorphous, the formula of formlessness. I am anthropomorphous. Those who cry redundancy are not Hispanic, have not spent their lives affirming one gender over the other, describing themselves as others see them, puzzling the evidence that not all forces repel, sensing the magnetic pull of the poles, the measureless singularity of humanness, the genderless objects I anthropomorphize. When my parents immigrated, they changed their names, became pronounceable. Miguel became Michael. Pilar became Maria. I too became Maria. Maria, virgin, mother, queen, woman, every girl child in the family. Maria of mercy, Maria of sorrows, of charity, conception, Maria standing on a pillar. We went in vain by our second names. I did not like the name. It was a school-time necessity, a moniker to introduce me to strangers. I learned to disassociate. I learned the geometry of gender. Sets called girls and boys were closed, and I was bracketed. The curriculum did not allow for fluctuations. I learned that I was jealous of tomboys because they were more male than I. I learned that male meant climbing trees and dominating in sports. I read mysteries and stayed up late solving for X. I took a job at a university. I admit the Brideshead appeal. Shrugged off my skirt, slipped on, instead, a name in slacks and button-down shirt. A chameleon takes on its surroundings. I forgot that I was not Maria, forgot I was chameleon. The identifier long disdained wrapped herself around my body. No longer skirt disguised as uniform, stripped away each night, she infused my form. Taught me to regard how others moved, laughed, discoursed in academic circles. Taught my voice to speak her words, made me pronounceable. Say it soft. It's almost like praying. I became persona and personified her. It was disconcertingly easy in that world-renowned bastion of intellectual pursuits where denizens came and went with semesters. My fellows said, Maria will always be here. Maria stared back in the mirror, answered in my voice. Hers was the outline of the shadow I cast. My clothes could not contain her. Only I could do that. Solve for X. There is a line between what I know to be true and what I accept that others believe. And try though I may to merge sets, the problem of duality remains. I behave as if contenta and contento mean the same thing. And Ms. is just polite address, and a ponytail won't feminize me any more than Johnny Depp. I behave as if a closed set does not contain boundaries, and I exist whether or not I am observed, and the difference between X and Y is non-existent. Although some would say that is skirting the issue. I don't wear skirts. Somewhere one must draw a line and cross it when solving for X. It is my pleasure to introduce Kimberly Adamai. Kimberly Adamai has been writing off and on for most of her life, moving emotion out of her head and onto paper. Like many, writing has been a way to share joyful moments, embrace sweet memories, and process difficult life experiences. Kim is a grateful member of the Write Group and has read her poetry for local events and Sunday morning church services. Kim lives in North Andover with her husband Jack and their cat named Cloud. Their son Lucas lives and works on the Cape. Kim is a certified licensed massage therapist. She loves her organic garden, West African drumming and dancing, and wonderful friends. She's a dedicated member of North Parish Unitarian Universalist Church. Kim Adamai.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I've brought two poems. The first one is actually in response to a book that I feel everyone should read, and I printed out a cover. It's by Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me, and I encourage anyone to pick up this book and read. So that's my first poem, and then my second poem is lighter and a memory of something I used to do with a family member. Okay, my first poem's called Still Waiting. Thank you, Mr. Coates. I do not assume to really know what it's like. Your words, organic like beautiful black soil, teeming with life force truth. expose white hot plasma earth core rage. You've had to wait over and over for so long, fearing, worrying, suffering, dying, for even a glimpse of witnessing white people, to wonder, be curious, be outraged, acknowledge, maybe even begin at the newborn stage to understand. I was young when I first realized ignorant cruelty, horrified, sickened, running to throw up, having accidentally seen pictures of what you describe. I was young when I first realized patient, nonviolent determination, raised up with hope by civil rights workers and flower children. I am beginning to feel under my skin, deep in my gut, down to my feet, what it might be like to be in your skin, exposed, protective, always aware, to feel your hunger for freedom, for fairness, even for food, to walk in your shoes, to run in your shoes, to run for your life. After all this time, always having friends of different colors, I'm just beginning to understand what I can't know. I can't speak. My words sound dumb, feel dumb, dumbstruck, stuck, wanting to whisper your truth into every cell of myself, wanting to scream sense into those who are senseless, wanting to shake those that appear to be sleeping, to wake up, wake up, wake up. Okay, the next one's completely different. I was debating which do I do first, but I'm glad I'm doing it this way. My second poem is called Laughing Uphill. Stained glass windows must have been conjured up on an autumn afternoon in New England, with golden light lower in the sky, saturating leaf color, perfection captured in glass and lead. Meanwhile, I was barely winning at our race, the one my dad and I played walking Thompson Hill Road on weekend afternoons. Race you to the next pole, my dad would say without warning. Every 300 feet, there was a chance, a possibility, an anticipation. Race you to the next pole was the cry, and I would start with a joyful scream, laughing, weak with laughter, my legs in slow motion, barely making it to the next pole before him, the two of us laughing our way up the hill. And I'm so pleased to be able to introduce Linda Flaherty Haltmeyer. And Linda is an award-winning writer and inaugural Poet Laureate of Andover, Massachusetts. Her full-length collection, Rolling Up the Sky, was the winner of the Homebound Publication Poetry Prize. She has been named a finalist for both the Princemere Poetry Prize and the Tuscan Festival of the Book. Her poetry has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and has appeared extensively in journals and anthologies. Please welcome Linda Flaherty Haltmeyer.
Thank you so much. What a talented group of writers and presenters. Really exciting. So today, I'm going to read from Rolling Up the Sky, my newest collection. And this first one came out of my dual obsessions, fossil hunting and birds, and was nominated for a Pushcart Prize last year. Vestige. He had murder in his eyes, that little robin on the railing, looking so plump and innocent as I crossed the lawn with my morning coffee. He watched me, and I knew, and he knew that he wasn't thinking about twigs or the latest worm hunting techniques. That fluffy baseball tracked me like a hitman, an intelligent gleam flickering like a laser pointer on my forehead. Some say dogs are people with fur, but birds really are dinosaurs with feathers. A robin's bloodline, T-Rex royalty, Rex Ragus, king of kings. Only now, he's king of the worms, Darwined into cuteness and irrelevance. A miniaturized afterthought, dominion bred out over eons. Perhaps a primordial itch still lurks inside his bite-sized head, one that time and mass extinction can't snuff out entirely. A lingering cellular hubris of Hitchcockian scale. Who was I to challenge an evolutionary hiccup with talons and a stabby beak? I hopscotched up the stairs, graceful as a golem, sloshing coffee as I lunged for the door. And this next one surprised me. I've gotten more reaction from this poem than anything I've written. And it, to me, sort of showed me and heartened me that some of the things we keep secret are really universal. The champagne in the fridge. I startle as if a severed head sits next to the kale. That expensive orange box wrapped in French curlicues, brut champagne writ large, a chilled rebuke in flowing script. I slam the door, a twinge radiating to my cheeks. Recriminations cascade like steel balls in a pachinko game. So where's your Pulitzer, your Oscar, your champagne-worthy moment? The evil troll spews as I crunch into my apple. But then I hear it, a small voice through the gnashing din. What about today? This day of hair braiding and egg scrambling, moments lost in Kandinsky coffee swirls as soccer cleats are jammed into backpacks. This day spent perched at my computer, expectant, like a visitor to a butterfly garden, ready for the muse to light at any moment. Is it possible that today, wrapped up in the twine of ordinariness, is worthy of the good stuff? I could break the seal on its elegant tomb, raise a glass to life in medias res, a day without a trophy's high-gloss burnish, yet still deserving of bubbles and clinks and crystal flutes. I crunch again and ponder this subversive act, grinning at the idea of a champagne tickle in my nose and an empty spot in the fridge. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all the poets today who shared their heart, their longings, their fears, their rage about who we are, what we have become, and where we are. So I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to come and show others what Essex County poets can do and who we are. So thank you all for making the effort to come. And I'd also like to thank very much the personnel of North Andover Community Access and Media, especially the executive director, Brian, who got us a podium for today, bravo, and also Susan Martin, who's my co-producer of this program, as well as volunteers Irena, Caitlin, Kevin, and others. So thank you all for coming and enjoying, I hope, the words of the Essex County poets. Thank you.